Jeremiah 25, part 2. Remember, they're changing the sound of my voice. The cup of God's wrath. Now, this connects to Revelation 17, Revelation 18. This is key here. What is meant by the cup of God's wrath? Right? Jerusalem is said to be a cup. Babylon is said to be a cup, believe it or not. The woman has connections to the wicked woman brought to Babylon. The woman in the basket, in Zechariah, I believe it is. The cup connects to Jerusalem. I think it's Jeremiah 13 or so that points this out. And other places, Jerusalem and Babylon, right? They kind of merge together, right? Baal and Babylon, and where they're trying to force the Jews, or they got the Jews to worship Baal, and so on and so forth, right? Jezebel and Elijah versus the prophets of Baal, and on and on and on and on. Okay. The cup of God's wrath. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, said to me. Take from my hand this cup filled with the wine of my wrath, and make all the nations to whom I send you drink it. When they drink it, they will stagger and go mad because of the sword I will send among them. Okay? So they will stagger and go mad. Are people acting crazy these days? Yes. Is it crazy to be a conformist? Yes. Is it crazy to be in a cult or a social club? Yes. Secret society? Yes. You name it. Name one cultural position that it's not crazy to be in. See, I'm the top martial artist ever possible. I transcend the world. I've overcome the world. Okay? But to be part of the world, to love the world, to find your life in the world makes you crazy, because the construct of the world is globalists and nationalists and all these crazy rich people that insist that everyone accepts the mark of the beast and plays their kind of ritual madness, theater, art, propaganda game, right? The theater of war. Why they say all is fair in love and war? Because they're dealing in psychology. And psyche is a pagan deity where we get the word psychology, and they want you in a psychology state of mind, right? Psyche means mind, and also it means soul. To the pagans and so on and so on. Okay. So again, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, said to me. Take from me this cup filled with the wine of my wrath, and make all the nations to whom I send you drink it. When they drink it, they will stagger and go mad because of the sword I will send among them. Right? They can't face their martial responsibility. So they go crazy, redefining themselves as something else instead of in the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order, which is the natural order of God. How do we know it's the African? Because that's where people come from. Okay, scientists have shot their bolt. They can't, make a magic discovery and change history now because we know their motives. We know them well. The die is cast. And God wouldn't expect you to believe him. Therefore, God expects you to believe that man came from Africa, and therefore it's an African order. And we see it with Nimrod. We see the evidence there with Nahum 3, Amos 9:7, Genesis 10. Okay. So I took the cup from the Lord's hand and made all the nations to whom he sent me drink it, Jerusalem and the towns of Judah, its kings and official, to make them a ruin and an object of horror and scorn, a curse as they are today. And it says here in the scripture here, it's saying this, as they are today. Okay? And of course, the word curse is like the word purse and, being a slave to money, and there's all kinds of connections there. See your sea, and so on and so forth. Okay. The sea of people and how you see things, what have you. If you have any questions, put in the comments. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, his attendants, his officials, and all his people, and all the foreign people there, all the kings of Uz, all the kings of the Philistines, those of Shecon, Gaza, Ekron, and the people left at Ashdod, Edom, Moab, and Ammon, all the kings of Tyre and Sidon, the kings of the coastlands across the seas, Dedan, Tema, Buz, and all who are in distant places, all the kings of Arabia, and all the kings of the foreign people who live in the wilderness, all the kings of Zimra, Elam, and Media, and all the kings of the north, near and far, one after the other, all the kingdoms on the face of the earth, and after all of them, the king of Shishak will drink it too. Shishak is a cryptogram for Babylon. And of course, Shishak can be said She's Hawk. Okay? Sees Hawk. Shaka, etc. There's a difference between Shaka Zulu and the Igbo martial art king. There's a difference between Nimrod and Nebuchadnezzar. There's a difference between, David and who was this king? Saul. Okay? There's a difference between Solomon going astray and David when he didn't go astray, and so on and so forth. Okay. Then tell them this is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. Drink, get drunk, and vomit, and fall to rise no more because of the sword I will send among you. But if they refuse to take the cup from your hand and drink it, tell them this is what the Lord Almighty says. You must drink it. See, I am beginning to bring disaster on the city that bears my name, and you will indeed go unpunished? You will not go unpunished. See, it's a question. You will indeed go unpunished? No, you will not go unpunished. For I am calling down a sword on all who live on the earth, declares the Lord Almighty. Now prophesy all these words against them, and say to them, the Lord will roar from on high, he will thunder from his holy dwelling, and roar mightily against this land. He will shout like those who tread the grapes, shout against all who live on earth. The tumult will resound to the ends of the earth, for the Lord will bring charges against the nations. He will bring judgment on all mankind, and put the wicked to the sword, declares the Lord. So when Satan is saying, change his voice, make him sound like a madman, make him sound gay, right? Does that change the fact that they're pitiful on their way to hell, and life is short, and God knows that I'm obeying them? No. Their spirit's like, no, I don't want to obey. Why, my spirit is the mightiest ever possible. Ever. There's no comparison. Woe to they who follow them and not me, because no servant can be greater. The tumult will resound to the ends of the earth, for the Lord will bring charges against the nations. He will bring judgment on all mankind and put the wicked to the sword, declares the Lord. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Look, disaster is spreading from nation to nation. A mighty storm is rising from the ends of the earth. At that time, those slain by the Lord will be everywhere, from one end of the earth to the other. They will not be mourned or gathered up or buried, but will be like dung lying on the ground. This word set is a play on words for shit. ETH becomes SHET. Vowels are interchangeable. Vowel, L, alphabet, and it becomes shit. Dung. Spiritually, not physically, spiritually hung. Weep and wail, you shepherds, roll in the dust, you leaders of the flock, for your time is to be slaughtered has come. You will fall like the best of the rams. The shepherds will have nowhere to flee, the leaders of the flock no place to escape. Hear the cries of the shepherd, the wailing of the leaders of the flock, for the Lord is destroying their pasture. The peaceful meadows will be laid waste because of the fierce anger of the Lord. Like a lion, he will leave his lair, and their land will become desolate because of the sword and the oppressor, and because of his fierce anger. And again, every day 189,000 people die. Do they die in a mighty spirit of obeying God, facing the rest of the world, like they're supposed to? No. So what is their spirit like? Their spirit is screaming in fear, in terror, in a state of ruin. As I'm sure that most of you know, that they changed my voice to reduce the sound of might, while they fume and poison me to reduce the sound of heterosexual might, because they're trying to make it so the white Jew, LGBT, and crypto-Jewish people seem to be the authority in some suit, right? Uniformity and authority and all this nonsense wordplay and kind of madness that they have as a philosophy, is what they enforce. And of course, no one with any sense respects it. They are the oppressors. I mean, how could you respect them?